Hi, welcome back to the course. In the last part, you learned about strobe lights, and in this part, we'll be learning about something that goes hand in hand with a strobe, which is a modifier like a softbox, or we also have an umbrella here, and I'm going to be showing you both of them in this video, and we'll also be talking about why a modifier is so necessary. Before I start with modifiers though, there's just one little thing that I forgot in the first video where I was telling you the essentials needed to form a budget home studio, and that was this light stand, which of course was visible in that video. It just somehow slipped my mind. So of course a light stand is something that you would require because ultimately your strobe, it just comes on this light stand like this, and that's why I just thought that it'll be fine if I just include that in this video. Right, now coming back to the modifiers. So first of all, why do we need a modifier like a softbox or an umbrella? Well, that's because we want to convert hard light, that is the type of light which comes out from the strobe, into soft light. And soft light is a type of light which is just, you can just imagine that it's much more pleasing on your subject, and it just looks much better on your subject when it falls. Now, what exactly is the difference between hard light and soft light, and why do we prefer soft light in photography, is something that we'll be seeing in this very video just in a few minutes time, and I'll be showing you two different shots. One in which I have taken the shot only with the strobe on the light stand, that is just the bare strobe and directly falling on the subject, the light from it. And in the second shot, of course, I've put the modifier on the strobe and I've taken a shot. So we'll compare both these shots, and what you'll see is that the hard light shot, that is the shot in which the strobe was bare, does not look good because you get pretty bad looking shadows. So hard light always produces bad looking shadows and very strong looking highlights which are not pleasing to the eye. Whereas when we put the modifier on the strobe and I show you the second shot, it'll be much more pleasing to the eye because of very soft shadows and nice looking highlights. So you'll see that in just a while. Before that, I just wanted to discuss the anatomy of a modifier. For example, one of the most popular type of modifiers is this softbox, right? So it's like a box and it has this diffusion material in front. So if I just take this off, you'll be able to see it properly. This is the inside part of the softbox. Bigger softboxes usually have two layers of diffusion. So not only is this translucent fabric, which is the diffusion material, present on top, but there's also one in between here, inside. And if the softbox has double diffusion, of course, you get even much better light. But since this is a very small softbox, it doesn't have. Later on in this course, I'll be showing you my favorite softbox, which is a huge softbox, which is a 135 centimeter octagonal softbox, which I just absolutely love, because what you'll realize later on in this course is that one of the very important things is learning about something called as inverse square law of light. Don't get confused by that. We will be absolutely tackling that later on. But right now what you have to understand is that when you learn about that law, one of the things that you learn is that the bigger the source of light, the softer the light is. Therefore, if you have a really big softbox, right, like say this is a medium-sized softbox, it's not very big. But if I were to have a bigger softbox than this, then it'll be much better than shooting through this. So a bigger source of light produces a softer light on your subject. That is again something that we'll be seeing when we learn about the inverse square law of light. Now let me quickly show you how to mount this softbox onto your strobe light. So it's very easy. You just put this on a surface and you just take your light and mount this like this, and all strobe lights will have a locking mechanism. So either you just have to rotate this ring, or they might have a different way to lock it, but you just have to make sure that you lock the strobe so that it fixes onto your softbox. Right, so that is one type of a modifier. Now the other type of modifier right now is again a very popular modifier, which is the umbrella. And this is relatively cheaper as compared to the softbox, and in just a while I'll be discussing what the basic difference between a softbox and an umbrella is. But usually an umbrella also works the same way. So the strobe has a little hole here through which you can just pass this umbrella through, and oh, there you have. And this will go onto the light, just like that will go onto the light, and does complete your light setup. So that's your strobe, modifier, and the light stand. Now the question is, I think I can keep this here, yeah. So the question is, what is the difference between an umbrella and a softbox? Well, the basic difference is that a softbox gives you much more directional lighting. So the light doesn't spill all over your studio. That's because you can see the shape is like this. So the photographer has control of where the light is going to go. So if you're just shooting, let's say one person, and that's what you will usually be doing. So softbox is preferred. Now again, when I say all this, I'm just talking on an average basis. Photographers have their own way of working. So some people might say this is wrong. Some people might say this is right. But what I'm telling you is that most of the people do use a softbox because it just gives you this directional control of lighting. Whereas if you see an umbrella, it just spreads, because of its shape, it just spreads light everywhere. So it just spills a lot of light, and that is sometimes not too preferable for some photographers, because let's say you don't want the light to fall on the background and you just want your light to fall on your subject, whereas using an umbrella might just spill it everywhere as compared to a softbox. So softbox just gives you more directional control of lighting, and hence probably most of the time, majority of the times, whenever you see someone's studio, the preferable modifier would be a softbox. Of course, the disadvantage of a softbox is that they can be slightly expensive, because bigger softboxes are better and bigger softboxes can slightly cost more, though you do get softboxes along with the strobe when you buy your strobe lights. So usually you get them. So that does explain you just a basic difference between what the different type of modifiers are. Of course, there are a host of other different types of modifiers. We will be looking at some other modifiers later on in this course when we take the short. Right now, because we're just starting out, I just wanted to show you two basic modifiers, and my purpose was to make you understand what a modifier does. Now, in order to do that again, let's show you the two shots where one shot is without the modifier and one shot is with the modifier, so that you understand the difference between soft and hard light, and in turn you'll understand why using a modifier is so important. So I'll see you then.